It was the summer of 1972. May of 1972 was 51 years ago when this song came out. Well, also 51 years ago, in May of 1972, I graduated high school. And we went to what was lovingly called back then Senior Week. How many of you had Senior Week at your high schools? Yeah, Senior Weeks back then in Philadelphia was when all of us in Philadelphia got into cars with our best friends and drove to Wildwood, New Jersey, or Atlantic City, or Cape May, wherever, whatever was ours to go to. We went to Wildwood, New Jersey. And of course, you know, we were seniors and we just graduated high school, so we were adults now. And we were ready to take on the world and, you know, do what adults do, overdrink. So we got to Wildwood and we started partying, and I had identical twins that were my best friends, and then I had my other best friend who was, his name was Joey Volpe, who right after that became Joanne, one of the first ever to do that, certainly legally and physically. Everything changed. He went from being Sancho Panza in Man of La Mancha, the little chubby sidekick, and by his sophomore year of college, he was Marilyn Monroe. I mean, really, she was Marilyn Monroe, gorgeous. And she used to say to me, "Don't you think I made the right choice?" She was like, "I could have been this stumpy little Italian kid the rest of my life as opposed to who I am today." So this was my 1972, and this song came out, and this became the theme song of our senior class, Lean on Me. And we went to Wildwood, New Jersey, and I had an episode that summer, which is why to this day, I cannot even smell bourbon without getting nauseous. It must have been really cheap bourbon, but I drank a lot. So much so that I decided to climb a tree to see the ocean from where we were staying. And I climbed that tree and sat up in the tree, very not in my body, looking at the ocean. Till all of my friends came and they were like, get down from the tree. And they had to climb up in the tree and get me, and bring me down, put me to bed, and I've never, bourbon, can't smell it, since. That's how good of those friends were. And we had this song, Lean on Me. And it was so powerful, that song, when it came out, that our senior year, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school. And they allowed us to sing Lean on Me at the baccalaureate mass. And I was the singer at the school. So I got to lead the choir, singing Lean on Me. You know, nothing like seeing a bunch of boys that have no rhythm trying to do. Even then, I was a control freak, and I kept going, just stand still. I'll move. You all stand still. So we were told in the baccalaureate mass that we could lean on, they used the theme, we could lean on our religion for the rest of our lives. We could lean on the Catholic Church. We could lean on Father Judge. The rest of our lives, we would be able to lean on our upbringing. And you know, when I asked Carol to sing this, I had all of those memories going through my head of high school and graduation and bourbon and the Catholic Church and all of it. And I thought, wow, where am I now? 51 years later, I don't lean on the Catholic Church. I don't lean on my old high school. I don't even lean on, although Joanne has since passed, but I do lean on my identical, one of the identical twins is still someone I call and lean on. And so the title of my talk today is, Who You Gonna Call? So let's just get this out of the way. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! And we're done with that. So, Lori sent me this slide and she went, do you wanna go like right for it? I went, why not? Sure. So who are you gonna call? So the question is, for you all to think about today, is this. What or who do you lean on in times of need? Now, I'm looking at you guys, Lisa and Judd. I would assume you lean on each other in times of need, right? Yes, exactly. But who? I lean on Kevin, but what else? Who do you lean on? What do you lean on when you need something in your life? And I have a couple things here. I want to start with the number one thing you should be able to lean on at all times. What do you think it is? Eric, really? Okay, I think somebody must have said it. Your mind. Mind itself. That thing called mind. Because you know your mind is the mind. It's not that we have, what do you have, 80 people here today? 80 individual minds. No, we have one mind, one infinite field of quantum intelligence individuating itself as Asa, as Doug, as Eric, as Kevin, as all of you. But we're all one mind. And so we should be able to depend on and lean on the capacity our mind has to create and to handle whatever is going on in our lives. That's number one. Number two, I think somebody said it, your beliefs. You should be able to lean on your beliefs. No matter what's showing up in your life, you should have a belief that trumps it no matter what. No matter what's going on, you know the truth. So, and someone did say truth. And I do have that. I honestly believe, and I know, my belief is so strong that life is unfolding perfectly no matter what. No matter what I see out there, or even no matter what I feel in here, I know life is unfolding perfectly. I don't always have the capacity to see it. I just sometimes can't see why this huge disruption is perfect. But it is. And I can lean on that. You know, when Nora passed and people said to me, you know, I got all these accolades, people saying, you are studying how to go through this. I'm like, no, I'm not. No. What I'm a study in is someone who believes what he teaches. And I believe that life always unfolds perfectly. And losing a child could really question that, could really put you in a position of saying it's just not true. But I didn't go there. I leaned on my truth and said, I don't know why she needed to leave this early, but I trust that it's the right thing for her. The other one is your friends. Now, does everybody here have a group of friends that they can lean on? Because I love that you raised do you have a good group of friends? Good. That's really important. And you know what? There's a lot of people that when I talk to about this, they're like, yeah, I mean, I have people, but I don't really have friends. What is that? I mean, there's something in you that is not courting that. I have amazing friends that I can lean on if I need to. And I can tell you, when we went through the biggest tragedy we will ever go through in our lives, our friends, they rallied around us. They were circling us like unbelievably. I mean, I remember I would come in here every Sunday. I never missed a Sunday. And Al Welland wouldn't let anyone near me because he knew I couldn't talk to people. I could get up here and talk and share my story, but I couldn't have one-on-ones with people because I was too delicate, too vulnerable. And all my friends just circled us, right? Everything was perfect. So your friends. And then the last one that you're supposed to be able to lean on is your feelings. How many of you possibly have feelings that run you, that actually lead you as opposed to help you, right? And it happens, you know, but what are our feelings? Our feelings are nothing more than the outcome of how we're using our mind. And our feelings are nothing more than the outcome of the beliefs we've decided to believe. So I believe this, which makes me think this, and when I think this, I feel this way. And so that's what the feelings are. But I should be able to depend on my feelings to inform me, to tell me what's going on. You know, and I ask myself this all the time now. I'm teaching this class, Radical Acceptance, and one of the issues is to constantly ask myself, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Recently, yesterday, I was feeling nauseous, and usually if I'm feeling nauseous, I'll like take a Tums or something. Oh, I ate something wrong. I didn't do that. I just took a deep breath through my nostrils, and I just went, what am I feeling right now? why am I feeling a little nauseous? And I connected with it right away. I was like, oh, your stomach's feeling nauseous because there's so many things you think aren't done. And that means you somehow think something could go wrong because you didn't do it. Oh, this is just your control freak self because we had this brand new venue yesterday and I didn't know really what was the screen going to look like. Did they really check the microphones? And I got a little nauseous. And my body was saying to me, let it go. I didn't need to take a Tums. I just paid attention and let it go. And I wasn't nauseous anymore. And everything worked out beautifully because they had already handled all of it that I decided to get nauseous about. And that's what's going on in our world. We allow ourselves to feel things, and we don't even have the proof, and that's what I really want to talk about today. So, if you give me my next slide, Thor. So, Chogyam Trungpa. How many of you have ever read Trungpa? I know you have. We always, nobody's read Trungpa, but Kevin and I. Oh, okay, and Audrey. That makes sense, because, of course, you lived in an ashram for how many years? Enough years. I love that. How many years you lived in an ashram? Enough. He was one of the foremost teachers of meditation in the United States. He was a Hindu monk, I believe. And so he has this article that I just read about psychosomatic body versus body. And really what he's talking about is, I'm not talking about your physical body necessarily. I'm talking about the entire body of your life, which means everything. Your job, your friends, your money, your health, the body of your existence, right? So the psychosomatic body versus the body is the difference between our ideas of the body of our life and the actual feeling or experience that we have of our life. And here's the thing, as we're talking about self-care this month, we have been hypnotized by our bodies and by the body of our life to think about our lives based on the past, current trends, and prevalent ideology. Meaning, you have more experience thinking about what you're feeling than actually feeling what you're feeling. And in fact, what Trungpa says is that very often we're not even feeling what we're feeling. We're feeling the idea of what we're feeling. And I read this article and I was just like, oh my God, that makes such great sense. So I'm not really feeling this. I'm just feeling what my mind tells me I should feel in this situation. You scream at me, I should get angry and upset. So I accommodate, because that's what I've been taught. That's what I believe. But it may be even what you're screaming at me about. For instance, I'll tell this story. I told this last night in Palm Springs. There was a coyote in our neighborhood. And when the coyote showed up, there was tension. But I had this moment of like compassion. I was like, because remember we just turned the corner and there it was. And it was the middle of the day. And there's this coyote, and Cooper, my 100-pound scaredy cat, backed up, and Mia literally came like behind my right leg and sort of sat, and I was like, oh, sure, let them eat me. And so I see the coyote, but I kind of connected with the coyote, and it just put its head down and walked away, and I thought, that just makes me so sad. It probably looked at us and went, look at those beautiful, look at dinner. Look at those beautiful dogs. They're being taken care of. They all seem so happy together. And I'm out here trying to find a cat or a mouse or something to eat. Now, obviously, I'm anthropomorphizing this coyote. But there was a moment where I really felt this like connection. So that was me really feeling what I was feeling and not feeling what I usually feel when I see a coyote, which is run, which is like tension. That's what he's talking about. The psychosomatic body versus and he calls it, I love that he calls it the body. So I want to do something today. Let me just put this down for a second. So I'm going to ask you to do some things, and I just want you to do them, okay? And take out your wallets. No, just kidding. No, that's funny. I should have thought of that. No, I'm just going to ask you to do something. Okay, everybody stand up. Okay, good. Now everybody sit down. Good. Just stand up one more time. Okay? Thank you, Christy. Okay, now sit down. What did you feel? Did you feel anything in your body as you were doing that? What did you feel? Anything? Tell me, read it, yell it. Resistance. Resistance. Okay, why? Because your mind was telling you, I don't need to stand and sit just because this idiot's telling me to do this, right? Your mind takes over. But were you paying attention to your body at all? Did you feel it in your body? Did you feel the experience of it? No. How many people did feel their bodies? Was it painful to get up and down? Okay, yes, you're like, yes, I felt that. So that's one. Okay, second one. I'm going to count to 3, and when I get to 3, I want you all to laugh. And don't stop laughing until I stop you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now it's really funny. How do you feel? Can you feel your body? Can you feel? What's it feel like? What? Joyful. Joyful. Did it feel good? Can you feel it in your body? You know what I'm asking you to do now, to feel what you're doing. So you felt it, right? Did it change your energy a little bit? Okay, good. Now, something has really, really, really pissed you off. I'm going to count to 3, and I just want you to yell. Don't hurt your voices. 1, 2, 3. I was actually thinking something else, but that was good, guys. Good scream fest. How's that feel? Okay, so someone said awful, someone said awesome. It depends on the individual, right? Tiffany didn't do it at all because she's a renegade, and she's not even feeling anything other than no. Am I right? Pretty much, although you stood up. Yeah. Okay, last thing. Everybody close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Emily, close your eyes. Now just sit in stillness for a moment and listen. Okay, open your eyes. What did you hear? The air conditioning. I'm sure everybody said that. Yeah, but could you hear things? What was your body feeling like when you were in stillness? Cold. From the air conditioning. Okay, good. Okay. Here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that when you stood up and sat down, your body was really reacting to what I was saying, but that you weren't fully feeling what you were doing because your mind was active. I'm going to suggest that when you laughed, you did feel, your body was feeling what it feels because your mind has already decided what your body feels like when you laugh, even though you weren't laughing at anything, other than eventually laughing at the fact that you were laughing. And then the screaming, again, there's a preconceived idea of what happens when the body does that. For some people, it's good. It's like a release. There are people, anger management, where they just let it out. How many people ever went to one of those classes where they'd hand you a pillow and tell you to scream into it or beat it up? Only a few of us. Those were fun. So what I want to talk about today, after all of that, understanding that, next slide. Oh, that was body. Next slide. Is conceptual living, which is unfortunately what most of us do. Concept living, conceptual living. We are living because we have a concept of what living means to us. And we are feeling based on our concepts. We're feeling based on the very concepts we have of living. And yet, there's a lot more going on that we could be feeling if we just allowed ourselves to. So there's this, in this month of caring, for me, this month is about self-care. The caring is really about being caring in terms of myself. And that's what I'd like you all to think about. Self-care this month. How are you going to care about yourself enough to expand, to grow? There's a book, Neurosomatic Mindfulness by Fleet Mall. And he writes this, and this is a long quote, just stick with me. It is helpful to understand how our conceptual mind works, especially in relation to direct experience. Our conceptual mind allows us to do amazing things: abstract thinking, reasoning, problem solving, creating amazing technologies of all kinds, and there is nothing wrong with that. Next slide. And at the same time, our conceptual mind can be an obstacle to direct experience and awakening, because it very quickly replaces direct experience with a concept of that experience. So when we're walking outside and we see a tree, do we really see the tree, or do we see our concept of a tree? Just think about that for a second. Let's just go with it and say this is true. That we all have concepts, beliefs, belief systems that allow us to walk through our lives knowing what we're seeing. We even have names for everything, right? Pretty much. Knowing what we're seeing, knowing what it means, knowing what the tree does. We think we understand all of it. And yet, if we were willing to suspend our belief and actually really experience whatever's going on, trying not to name it, we would be closer to our natural selves. And we would experience so much more of what life is. I shared about my taking a shower. Was that last week that I talked to you about me taking a shower? Washing my toes? Yeah. Everybody asked me wanted to know what kind of soap I used. It's doTERRA, just so you know. But that kind of being willing to be wide awake and experiencing what's ever going on. So I want you to look around this room and find something that you've never seen before. You've been, not you, Asa, because of course you've never been here, but just something that you've never seen before. Something that you've just ignored or didn't notice. Pete, what do you see that you didn't see before?
I find I've been in this room so many times, drumming and listening to you, I feel like I've absorbed it.
Okay.
I don't see anything I haven't seen.
Okay. Have you ever really seen these gribbets holding these signs together? These silver things? No. Have you really taken time to see these what are they called, Eric? Succulents up here?
Yes. They're from Nick.
No, they're not from Nick.
Oh.
Those are the old ones. Nick gave us the ones that we replaced. These are the Eric Overholzer ones that require nothing because they're rubber. Yes. Eric, is there anything you haven't seen before that you just noticed? A hole in the ceiling tile. Okay, good. Pauline, anything?
I never noticed the camera on that shelf.
You never noticed the camera on that. Oh, that's this camera on that shelf. I don't know, do you ever use, oh yeah, you use that for the band, right? Yeah. Has anybody ever noticed Thor up there? Of course you have. Okay, so I want to ask you a question. What do you think of this room? It's cold. It is cold. I don't know why, but yeah. What do you think of this room? Now let me ask you this, and the cold is going to influence this. What do you feel about this room? Comfort, good. How do you feel in the room? Because that's really the question this month. If you would give me the next slide. Perception versus experiential. You know what I'd like you all to do this month in terms of self-care? Start experiencing your life instead of just having a perception of what it is. Stop knowing what your life is and start experiencing it and actually telling yourself, understanding what your life is. You know that question, what one thing could you do that by doing it would make everything else easier? Well, one of the things you could do that by doing it would make everything else easier is if you actually were present in each moment of your life and you experienced it, not just thought about it, not just intellectualized it, but you really experienced it. Do I enjoy this? Do I love this? What is it that I'm feeling right now? Really feeling. If you ask yourself that 100 times a day, trust me, your life is going to expand. What am I feeling right now? You'll have a better sense of who you are. So, this book that I'm teaching, Radical Acceptance, really has expanded my life, expanded my understanding of science of mind. And reading this article on, body, really has me so aware. It's like, all right, I know that's a tree, but am I really seeing the tree? Or am I walking by it because I already have a concept, that's a tree, I can move on. It's a tree, but what kind of tree? What's the bark? What's in the tree? What are the leaves? All that there's so many different understandings of everything we already know. So this month, I invite you, next slide, to commit to living in your body. And not just your physical body, but the body of your life. And in experiential relationship to the body of your life. Really pay attention to the experience you're having being a mother. That experience. We know what it means to be a mother. I know what it means to be a father, to be a parent. But I think sometimes we move through parenthood so quickly because we're trying to get to the other side of it. We move through parenthood so quickly, we perhaps not necessarily are experiencing it moment by moment, beat by beat. And that goes for every aspect of our lives. Do you know why people don't do this? Because I ask why? I ask myself this, why do I think people don't do this? Because we may find out that there's a portion of our life that we're not experiencing in a way that helps us or that we want. And we would then have to make changes, wouldn't we? We'd have to turn around and say, okay, I get it now, and this is why I have stomach problems. This is why I don't feel good when I'm in this place. This is why when I go out with these people, I always come back agitated, right? Because now that I'm willing to experience it, the answer is, I don't want to experience that anymore. But that's where we have the power. You're a choice. But first you have to decide and really understand what are you experiencing, and then decide, do I want this or not? So this month of caring, I know it was like, oh good, we're just going to care this month. No, this is about, the best way you can care for yourself is to remember who you are. You are a living, breathing, expanding, creative person that has the capacity to live an extraordinary life. Thank you. And that extraordinary life, just turned the air conditioning off, thank God. Thank you, Sherry. That extraordinary life you're already living, I just don't know if you're experiencing it. The life is there to experience, the extraordinary part of it. And we'll do it if we decide to pay attention, if we decide to really live in our body, the whole universe, and get out of the idea of conceptual living. I don't need a concept of how my life is going to be. What I need is to experience what it is and then decide, is this good? Is this what I want? And then I'm going to just take a gazillion other chances to see maybe this, maybe this. That's the excitement of living. How do you all feel about that? Everybody good with that? You all going to go with me and do this? Okay, so who are you going to call? See, you didn't know how to answer, did you? That's what I wanted. I thought, I'm going to ask it at the end, and if they don't answer me, it's because they're just not going to do the concept. because we're used to going, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Well, same thing with living. There's a tree. It's pretty. Move on. No, there's a tree. I'm going to go hug it. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to sit under it. I'm using the tree because I have a gorgeous tree in my backyard. And it's a 300-year-old oak tree, but I know it's a 300-year-old oak tree. When's the last time I actually sat and looked up in it or actually really paid attention to it? I guarantee you I will do that today when I go home. What are you going to do when you walk out of here today? That's the question. Namaste.